Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, we have DGE's dodgy math on $55 billion in savings, a top DOJ ethics official resigns, the Trump administration moves to drop Eric Adams' case, and Nicola files for bankruptcy. Let's remember, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, we reflect back on a period of suffering in reality. On February 19, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the forced relocation and internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. Issued in the wake of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, the order empowered the military to designate exclusion zones from which individuals could be removed. Although the order did not explicitly mention Japanese Americans, it led to the incarceration of over 120,000 people of Japanese descent, two-thirds of whom were U.S. citizens. Families were uprooted from their homes and businesses, sent to remote camps under harsh conditions, and held without due process. The Supreme Court upheld the internment in Korematsu v. United States, which was decided in 1944, ruling that national security concerns justified the action. Decades later, the decision was widely condemned, and in 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, formally apologizing and granting reparations to surviving internees. The internment remains a stark example of how fear and prejudice can lead to grave violations of constitutional rights. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DGE, don't call it DOJ, spearheaded by Elon Musk, claims to have saved over $55 billion in federal spending, but publicly available data only supports about $8.6 billion in verified savings. A major accounting error inflated a single contract cancellation from $8 million to $8 billion, significantly distorting the numbers. Despite promising, quote, maximum transparency, DGE operates outside traditional oversight, raising concerns about its accountability. Musk, whose companies receive billions in federal contracts, is supposedly self-policing conflicts of interest. Meanwhile, a federal judge has allowed DGE to continue slashing jobs and contracts, handing Trump a legal win. The administration touts these efforts as transformative, with Trump and Musk claiming they'll eventually cut $1 trillion in waste, but note, they can't tell the difference between $1 million and $1 billion, so we'll see. With major entitlement programs off limits and nearly half of discretionary spending tied to defense, the math is fuzzy at best. Who knew the efficiency agency run by the guy who wildly guessed about Twitter bots might struggle with basic accounting? Bradley Weinsheimer, the Justice Department's top ethics official, resigned after being reassigned by Trump administration officials to a new working group on sanctuary cities. A 34-year DOJ veteran, Weinsheimer opted for deferred resignation rather than accept the move, joining a wave of career officials who have left amid concerns over the politicization of the department. His ethics duties were transferred to two political appointees, one of whom helped Trump defend in his New York hush money case, and the other a 2021 law school graduate. Critics, including former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance, argue this shift undermines the DOJ's independence. The Trump administration has aggressively reshaped the department, firing or reassigning officials and dropping criminal cases against Trump under the rationale that sitting presidents shouldn't be prosecuted. The Justice Department, now led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, another former Trump defense lawyer, has also launched a weaponization working group to scrutinize past investigations into Trump. The White House, for its part, insists the DOJ was previously weaponized against Trump and is now being restored. A federal judge is set to hear arguments on whether to dismiss corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams following a controversial request from Trump administration prosecutors. The Justice Department, under orders from acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, a former Trump defense lawyer, asked to drop the case, claiming Adams is needed to help enforce the president's immigration policies. The move has sparked outrage, with several prosecutors, including the lead attorney, resigning in protest. Critics argue the dismissal is politically motivated, especially after reports that Adams' team suggested the mayor would support Trump's policies if the charges disappeared. The DOJ insists the decision isn't about the case's merits, but Adams' political future. The charges, filed under Biden's administration, accused Adams of accepting bribes from Turkish nationals, which he denies. The dismissal would be without prejudice, meaning the case could be reopened after the November mayoral election, something critics see as a pressure tactic. With Adams' political future in question and New York Democrats calling for his resignation, the legal and political stakes are quite high. Electric truck maker Nicola has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing cash shortages and difficulty securing funding. The company, which once promised to revolutionize the EV industry, struggled with leadership instability, weak sales, and a plummeting stock price. Like other pandemic-era EV startups such as Fisker and Lordstown Motors, Nicola found itself unable to sustain its capital-intensive operations as high interest rates and low demand dried up investor support. The company plans to sell off most or all of its assets while maintaining limited truck and hydrogen fueling operations through March. Nikola, which went public in 2020 via a SPAC deal, has cycled through 4 CEOs in 4 years, with industry veteran Steven Gursky currently at the helm. Despite ramping up production of hydrogen-powered trucks in 2024, the company bled money, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars per vehicle. Fleet operators' reluctance to invest in EV infrastructure further compounded its struggles. The bankruptcy marks the end of a turbulent journey for a firm that once positioned itself as Tesla's trucking rival. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you look for more than Minimum Competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment and can leave a rating or review on your podcast player, we'd appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter form. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and until then, remember, begin it once to live and count each separate day as a separate life.